Here's more of the Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.
Say what you want to say, and let the words fall out.
And we're back on the Alice Stewart Show, 7:44 on a beautiful sunny Friday morning. And joining me in studio, Congressman Mike Ross, the Democratic gubernatorial candidate. Good morning. Great to have you here.
Hey, Alice, top of the morning to you. It's Friday.
It is.
And the sun is shining.
I know. And Jessica's mentioned it's also Friday the 13th and a full moon.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that. Scary.
Yeah, then there's that. But it is beautiful, a nice sunny day. You were out in Fort Smith yesterday and announced your Jobs First initiative, a plan that you hope to implement as governor to create jobs. And you've mentioned jobs as a high priority all along. Why is this so important to explain this and get this out there for folks to understand? This is a key issue for Arkansas.
Absolutely, and I was pleased to be at Chaffee Crossing in Fort Smith, a redevelopment area, and they've had a lot of success there, and I wanted to showcase what they've been able to do and talk about some of the challenges Fort Smith's had, with the layoffs from Whirlpool, and they've had too many pink slips in Fort Smith, and we've had that in too many towns, large and small, all across this state. So we were in Fort Smith to roll out our Jobs First plan. Look, it's part of my positive vision for the future of this state. It's a 46-page plan, and I would encourage people to view the entire plan at mikeross.com. It focuses on education, job creation, lower fair taxes, and reducing burdensome government rules and regulations.
Well, on that point, having served in Washington, you understand about red tape. And
Yes.
That is one of the key focuses of this plan, cutting the red tape. Why is that so important, and how do you plan to make that happen?
Well, I'm a former small business owner, and it's tough to keep up with what the rules and regulations are because they change so much. So one of the things I want to do is take all the government rules and regulations in Arkansas and put them on a single website. A lot of businesses, they got to go to this website to figure out this rule or regulation, a different website from a different agency to figure out another one. So I want to have them all on the same website. I also want one-stop shopping, a single source to where small people that want to create a small business can go to figure out what they need and be able to do it and do it in a much faster period of time than they can now. But look, government rules and regulations. We're a nation of rules, and we got to have some. But I think we have too many. And so what I've proposed is any rule or regulation that has been handed down by a legislature, a state agency, a cabinet position, a commission, a board. If it's been there more than 3 years, I want a bipartisan panel, including Democrats, Republicans, independents, small business owners on that panel that will review every rule and regulation more than 3 years old and determine whether it still makes sense or if it ever worked.
Well,
and if it didn't, let's get rid of it.
And I think the bipartisan is a key word. Oftentimes we have, understandably, governors or people in different positions appoint cabinet members or members of committees, and it's not necessarily bipartisan, and that is key. You also talk in your plan about creation of a governor's cabinet for economic development, which you announced last year. Why is that important?
Well, I'm surprised we don't have one. Look, and this won't cost taxpayers a dime. What I'm suggesting here is we've got 6 or 7 different state agencies that share some responsibility within job creation, economic development. It makes sense to me that we bring them together on a regular basis and get folks talking to one another and greater collaboration about pooling resources to try and get more and better paying jobs in here. And I think the governor's cabinet on economic development really does demonstrate that job creation, economic development is going to be one of my top priorities as governor.
And one thing I think is so important, often we see governors there at the ribbon cutting, the grand opening of these events or these businesses, but yet when they close down, they're nowhere to be found. What about when jobs are lost or businesses close down, being responsible in that regard?
Absolutely. I think the governor is the state's chief executive officer, and the buck stops with the governor, and so we need to we need to focus on more and better paying jobs. And to do that, I really think it all starts with education. And that's why part of my plan talks about career and technical education. I still call it VOTEC. I'm kind of old school, I guess. But look, you look at 100 ninth graders in Arkansas, 20 of them won't finish high school, 40 go to college, only 20 graduate college. What about the other 80?
Right.
I think we need a renewed emphasis, a renewed focus on career and technical training. So for those who do not choose college, they can learn a skill, they can learn a trade, they can get a certification, and get a good paying job. And in doing so, it helps provide our state with that educated, trained, and skilled workforce that we need to attract the better paying jobs of today and tomorrow.
And clearly, taxes are a big part of job creation. And you've talked about your tax plan before, but tax cuts are a big part of your jobs plan.
Absolutely. The opposition was quick to pounce on the plan, saying it's big government. 90% of my plan is cutting taxes. And another big part of it is reducing government rules and regulations. So nothing could be further from the truth. But I think if to be competitive, to grow the economy in Arkansas, we need lower fair taxes for working folks as well as our small businesses. And we also need to reduce the burdensome government rules and regulations. And
you mentioned your opposition. Obviously, you have Asa Hutchinson, the Republican candidate for governor. There are also Josh Drake is a Green Party candidate, and Frank Gilbert, Libertarian candidate. Not to forget those key parties, but Asa Hutchinson, your key Republican challenger, also has put out a jobs plan. It's the ASA plan, Making Arkansas Competitive, a new jobs plan for 2015 and beyond. How is your plan different from his?
Well, his creates a whole new level of bureaucracy. He wants to create all these regional panels around the state to deal with economic development and job training. And my plan does not do that. Mine focuses on education, workforce training, career and technical training. So there's big differences between his plan and my plan.
And they, after your report came out, they issued a statement. His spokesman put out a statement saying, this is spokesman for Asa Hutchinson, Christian Olson, saying, in terms of your plan, he says that you have zero credibility in job creation in the congressional district you represented for more than a decade in Congress. Your response?
I think I'm starting to get under their skin a little bit. I mean, how silly is that? They pointed out that the unemployment rate went up in the 4th Congressional District. They failed to mention that it was during the worst economic recession since World War II. The unemployment rate went up everywhere. But I think if you talk to the folks at Cooper Tire in Texarkana, where I worked very hard to help save that plant in Texarkana, if you talk to the folks in my hometown of Prescott, where Firestone Building Products was this close, that's right, we're on radio. I've got my fingers are real close together. But they were this close to losing that plant in Prescott and seeing those jobs go to South Carolina. And I worked with Governor Beebe. We kept Firestone Building Products in Prescott, and in fact, they've expanded and gone from 400 jobs to 560 jobs, which is pretty good for a town of 3,200 people.
Right. And I want to ask you this. You both have jobs plans out there. You both have tax plans out there. And we're through the primary, through the runoffs. It is full speed ahead to November. And I know your answer will be, I'm not going to reveal my strategy. But what's your strategy moving forward? In terms of going to get out there and meet and greet the people. And one thing I will say, and I've always said this, you are a hard campaigner. You meet everyone, knock on every door, shake every hand. What's your plan moving forward? Is just to get out and meet as many folks as you can? Do you have other plans on the horizon? What's the step?
I may be outspent in this race, but I am not going to be outworked. No one's going to outwork me in this race. I left yesterday morning at 6, got in at midnight, was back leaving at 5 this morning to hit all the morning shows. I've got a positive vision for the future of this state, and I guess the biggest message I want to send to people, and you touched on it about bipartisanship. My administration will include some Republicans. My cabinet will include some Republicans. Look, I'm a conservative, pro-business, pro-gun, pro-God Democrat, and I make no apologies for that. I'm proud to be the Democratic nominee for governor of Arkansas, but I'm not running to be governor for the Democratic Party, and I'm not running to be governor for the Republican Party. I'm fed up with the extremes of both parties. I'm running to be governor for all the people in this great state, and I've committed and pledged to work with everyone who will work with me to make this state an even better place to live, work, and raise a family. And I think that's what my Jobs First plan really encompasses and what it's really all about.
One last question. We've got about a minute left. With all that's going on in D.C., of course, Congress has a low approval rating. The administration's not doing great. Do you see what's going on in Washington and all of the issues, the VA and IRS and all these issues going on, having an impact on the Arkansas governor's race? Or is this clearly a referendum on your record and Asa Hutchinson's record going forward?
I think it's really a referendum on who's got the best vision moving this state forward. My campaign is about the future. Look, I think when it comes to governor, I think go back to 2010. I mean, Senator Lincoln was going down to one of the worst defeats in the history of the U.S. Senate, and Mike Beebe won all 75 counties. I think I think the D and the R mean a lot more when people are voting on Congress and Senate and President. I think for governor in Arkansas, I think people look at the person, their character, their values, their morals, a lot more than they look at the D or R.
All right, Mike Ross, if you want more information, go to mikeross.com. We appreciate you coming in this morning.
Thanks, Alice.
All right, thanks.
And I love your music on your show.
Well, Jessica and I, it's a team effort. We pick it out. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that wraps it up for this edition of the Alice Stewart Show. Thank you for tuning in. Glenn Beck is on deck. Have a great weekend. Be safe. We'll talk to you on Monday.
The Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.
I don't have to wait till Monday.